So I haven't got anything.
It's Karl and Andy on Saturday. It's the morning and we're happy. We are filled with coffee and we don't care about anything you say. Well, we do, kinda.
What were we? We were something, and it was
We
Saturday. Something right on the Saturday,
we're
but I don't know what
it's
we were.
Saturday. We're happy. We're full of cafe.
See what you did there. See what you did there. No, this is nice.
I was just running on a sugar high, which is weird because everything I drink now has no sugar in it or palm oil, whatever palm oil is.
Really?
Yeah, just don't use palm oil. Basically, you're killing the primates. Don't use palm oil. It's bad.
Killing palms.
It's from trees and stuff.
Not from palms. I just thought it was from sweaty palms, and they just rubbed that and put it in a pot.
When I used to be a churchgoer and the Psalms, I thought they came from palm trees.
They don't.
The things you add up as a child, because they kind of were spelt almost the same, and I thought maybe they were written on the leaves or something, dried out leaves, back in the days of. Back in the days of Trent Heston. Yes, palms. Or Psalms.
No, I never went there.
Yeah, well, there you go. Ireland, mate. We had a much more religious upbringing than you heathens in England. That was Irish borders.
I went to a Church of England school in there, and it was like the worst part of the week was having to go to church. I suppose it was half hour off, but then you get Eucharist ceremonies that would last for like hours and hours. And the best bit up was getting a drink and getting a snack, but I'd never been dobbed in.
You weren't allowed to become a
we just had to watch the other kids go up and have a snack.
Mummy, I want to eat people's flesh too.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, let's just Saturday morning. Let's just belittle an entire people's religious structure by saying that they were zombies.
We started well.
Oh well, it's not like we needed the viewers. Yes, it's an important thing for all the people who've joined us already. We don't care whether you're watching or not. We plan to talk. You're just invited along for the ride. God help you all.
God help you.
Good morning, people. We've got Graham there. We've got Justin Lee Morrison. Good morning. The two faces of radio. And Simon says, make paint play. Well, that's a cool name. Simon says, make paint play. I like that name.
I wouldn't. That's too long for me. There'd be too many typos in me trying to type that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a name. It's not a name for live streaming when you're a bit sozzled.
No.
But I can get where he's coming from.
The older I get, the worse I am.
I can get
very nice names, and I just can't spell it.
Get on my miniature. And Mr. Clark is... Hey, it's a morning for Simons. There's another Simon. Simon Clark. Hello, Simon Clark. Good morning to you, sir. Or ma'am. You can call yourself whatever you like these days.
Very nice frame, I've noticed.
Yeah, I thought we'd go a bit upmarket, a bit of gold gilt.
Yeah. I'd like to stand there just with a pipe.
Yes, and a fine cheroot.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell a fine cheroot was, I don't know.
I don't know, but it definitely had a kind of brown wrapping in my idea. They're the papers, I think.
Yeah. Are those long cigarette holders like Poirot used to use? They're like,
Yeah.
Now we're
Joan
talking...
probably had those in Dynasty, I would have thought.
Yeah, but white gloves then as well, kind of Mrs. Carrington and all that kind of caper. Back when smoking was cool and tobacco companies could pay to be promoted on TV programs.
Yeah, some of those adverts are absolutely adorable now.
Yeah.
Come, enjoy cancer.
Are you hot and tired working, building oil rigs? What you need is a cigarette.
Happy days.
I love watching those old adverts as well because it's mad. Cigarettes, they quench your thirst. They suppress hunger. The benefits of smoking were threefold.
How are you though? You all right?
I'm not
Nice
bad.
hat.
Not bad. Jess Hunt, you be framed, lads.
Nice.
Yes.
See what he's done there.
Yes. We lined them up for them. Yeah, I'm not too bad. I love to say I've been really productive painting stuff because I still have a wall of commission work over there, and I still have a table of commission work over there, and I still have boxes of Andy stuff over there. I haven't lifted a paintbrush in a fortnight.
Shocking.
I've done
I've been
lots of other stuff
people.
though. Have been busy. I've been
What have you
making
done?
things. I've been there's some stuff I can't talk. I've been doing a lot of designing and drawing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Stuff that is yet to be revealed. Stuff and things.
Stuff and things.
Yeah. And drinking huge amounts of coffee and work. Real work as well.
Hey, I had my tea too early. Got nothing to sip on now. I'm going to drill it. I can't log in at the moment into YouTube to give comments. Do apologise.
Oh, he can't log in. What would you like? Well, I could type something for you. What would you like to say? And I'll pretend I'm you.
I was just going to wish everybody good morning, but I can't do it because of stupid Google. Thank you.
There we go.
No, I mean, this is
I've inadvertently written I'm Karl and I'm a lady. Sorry, hang on. And good morning. There we go. That's better. I don't know what happened to the keyboard there.
You have written that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem.
I mean, this is quality broadcasting. Watching you type.
And later on today, I'm going to write a small poem.
Oh dear.
Breathe. Right. I'm sure we're supposed to like talk about stuff. I can't remember what. We did have stuff to talk about. I suppose I'm just sliding the magic button to make the other big fancy screen appear.
Showing pictures and things.
So where are we? 29th is like, I don't know what day is today. It's like 6 days away.
Friday coming.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we've been getting everything ready this week. The thing got approved, so we put up a you can notify me on launch button thing is now on the Facebook page, so that's sitting there. So that's ready to go. I've got the last of the images, a couple of which I've chucked over to you in there of some of the later kind of add-on bits and pieces.
Yes, we'll look at those shortly.
So pretty much a couple of little bit of admin bits, but no, that's ready to rock and roll, I think.
But this is just going to be like cool runnings for you. You're just going to hop into the bobsleigh on the 29th, slide downhill flawlessly the whole way, couple of nice curves as it hits a few stretch goals, and then whoosh through the finish line, and then it's champagne for everybody.
Not inside the sled, I hope. That'd get really messy. It's like the old Jim will fix it, kind of like put the cubs on the... no, we don't mention Jim.
Jim will fix it.
Okay. We're putting cubs on a roller coaster and watching them eat sandwiches. I mean, there's nothing funnier, but it's messy, is what I'm saying. It should go all right. I hope it goes all right, but it's 30 days. I did Apocalypse over 30 days. And weirdly, it's slightly more stressful than doing it in a shorter one, because it just kind of, there's that weird long period in the middle where nothing kind of happens. But there's loads and loads of stretch goals in this one with all the buildings and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to keep people entertained and not annoyed for a month.
It just strikes me now that I really want to run a post-apocalyptic Kickstarter campaign for 28 days and have it delivered to people 28 days later, and then do a follow-up.
Could it be zombie themed?
28 more days, yeah. It's just there's a homage to be had there, but it would be an insane amount of work. I don't envy you because for most people, because we've obviously, as consummate professionals here at Weegamers and the Bunker Club, we've obviously interviewed and chatted to a lot of people who have since vanished into obscurity, but who've ran Kickstarters and basically for 30 days not slept, hardly ate, peed in plastic cups. But this is kind of like you're in a chill zone over this.
Well, I've done 7 of them, and everything is, you get into a bit of a groove with them. So most things are ready. There's a few bits of artwork that I'll need to do, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
it's fairly straightforward. I'm waiting for a few more, about 5 masters. Dave's been finishing off some of the last bits of artwork for maps and stuff for the book. So it's all coming together. We did a very nice little additional token thing this week. So we've got a kind of a dial thing going on for one of the scenarios in there, which is quite nice. We've got a little MDF version of that we're just finishing off.
Is it going to be in the shape of the little sort of thing for the Ouija board?
No, there is one for that. So there's a little tracker token on that, which has got the little thing so you can track it over. But no, this is a on or off. So there's a kind of like like the old dial that you had. So it's just a little switch thing. This little MDF thing. Well, if we're going to do we've got some room on the sheet for the MDF thing, so we'll give that a go. So there's just little bits and pieces finishing off, really. So I think that will go over. Watch the post on Friday. So if we speak next Saturday, then we'll see where we are, because we've been 24 hours in.
Let's speak next Saturday. Let's make that happen and not
make that happen. I'd let my people speak to your people.
Oh no! What we should do is for next Saturday is she put on her coats and you act so you're outside and I'll act so I'm on location. When you're here live talking to Karl, whereas Kickstarter has gone live, it's been on the go for 24 hours and the votes are coming in.
Could you have a swingometer and everything?
Oh dear. It's hard to go wrong when your products are so good. Oh.
Justin Morrison, love him.
You're not getting in free, Justin. Shut up. But I might arrange Justin for a set of Ireland priests, because I'm going to get some Ireland priests. So I'm going to get you some Irish priests. Because we live in an island, so I mean they're made for us. It's not like England's an island.
No. Quite different. If I understand, it's quite different these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's removed itself from Europe, and presumably it's going to move to somewhere like near Iceland or something.
Like the bit between now, is that looking quite good? I'm imagining that's kind of like exciting pylons and
we're building a wall.
That's what I thought. How's that looking now? What sort of design are we going for there? Is it like Mega City 1 or what?
Well, I'm thinking we build a wall with various watchtowers. We make the Isle of Man like an administrative control zone for it all. And then the sort of the police force, like an army, can be encamped around it. And the rules will be simple. Once you go in, you don't come out.
Escape from New York is what you do. You just recreated Escape from New York.
Yes, but unlike
you just want to put your Pliskin outfit on. You're just going to be running around with the eye patch. That's all you want to do. That's why you voted for it. He said, I want to be Pliskin. That's it.
You got to admit, Pliskin's quite an ambitious character for me. I mean, I do like my hats.
Does that mean we can only get across by glider? Is that the only way in now?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, the Gulf Fire. You have to fly the Gulf Fire over Moscow.
What building am I landing on top of? I don't know.
We don't really do buildings here. I mean, we've got a couple.
That's a very broad statement you made there. We don't do buildings.
Traditionally, we wouldn't recommend being inside a large structure in Belfast. Usually it's better to be in the countryside behind a bigger wall.
I'm not touching that one.
No, I can, you see, because I'm from here. I would suggest you do D-Day and just land in a field. We've got lots of fields.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as you've got this to land, it'd be fine. I can't imagine it had any adverse effect then.
No, and taking off might be a bit of a problem, but it's Ireland. Once you're here, you'll want to stay.
Who would? Well, I'm glad the authorities have figured all of this out. It sounds like it's going to work.
I like your optimism, the belief that somehow our authorities could figure anything out over your authorities.
Oh, your authorities would be fine. I'm more worried about mine, to be absolutely honest with you.
Yes.
I say mine with the I don't want anything to do with them.
Let's just move on, because that's just going to end up depressing us. If we end up talking about real stuff, we'll both end up very sad.
I think we've covered all of the no-go areas so far. We've done politics, we've done religion.
Well, do you want to talk about sex, Karl? Because, funny enough...
Can't say it like that. Like this.
Sorry, do you need me to rub my knees as I say it?
Right.
Do you want to talk about sex? There were two girls lived above the post office.
Do you remember Dear John with the therapist? Do you have any sexual problems?
My centaurs are detecting that you've got an issue you want to talk about today. Cheekers, that would be scary. Imagine if we started doing like a talk-in where we expected the guys to basically come to us with their problems.
What, like agony aunts?
Yeah, like agony uncles, Carl.
The uncles.
Or, let's face it, if one of us was going to be an aunt, it's you.
Hit it with a hammer, it'll be fine. There you go.
Have you tried using Gorilla Glue? It fixes so many problems, it might fix your relationship with your mother.
Oh, God.
No, but yeah, let's talk about girls, because there is actually a rationale here. Fantasy. I know we're kind of in love with lurkers and all at the minute, but just to segue for a moment, after lurkers is going to come fantasy, right?
Yep.
And funny enough, this was going through my head last night. Remind me to tell you about the dream I had. But this was going through my head last night, where prior to the Saturday morning, I always sort of think, well, you know, be useful to talk about Carl to something relevant. And then I fall asleep and wake up thinking, oh, I had a great idea. Forgotten what it was. Let's wing it. But I was thinking about your G-men, your special agents, and the fact that there's a G lady, because they're G agents, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Jez, they've censored your comment for some reason. I don't think it's that bad, but it's quite common for one to be bigger than the other. That's normal. However, if it swells, you probably want to see your GP. Because that happened to a friend of mine. Turned out to be bad. Anyway, and it got me thinking with fantasy coming, because obviously it was quite easy to stick a lady in a suit and go, she's a female agent, it's crooked dice. I don't need to comply with the conventions of the 1940s or 1930s. Like, Hollywood in the 1930s employed 3 women and one of them made tea and coffee.
Wasn't the most representative of eras, no.
Yeah, exactly.
And we didn't have that when we had pulp in there. When we were designing the pulp, we tried to kind of try to address that as best we could with the kind of different set of artists.
And I think you did. I think because in pulp you managed to have, I'm not going to say the damsel in distress, but you've got like your photographer who's, you know, I'm there to take pictures and I'm quite pretty. But she wasn't over-sexualized in any way. You had your female adventurer, the Diana kind of character from The Phantom. She's just there, sleeves rolled up, pistol on her hip, big flaming torch, ready to go. You know, generally speaking. But what was in my head was, well, fantasy's coming. And the biggest pitfall for fantasy tends to be the criticism that female characters are over-sexualized. Everyone needs a chainmail bra and thong, because that's the part that you need to protect from an axe. And then
in when I did Otherworld, one of the event cards was chainmail bikini in there, and we kind of tried to push back against that. Behind me, I'm not going to show it any better, but behind me in there, actually, is our version. We've got a character that has kind of come up as in some of the background history called Orsa. In there, who is essentially, you know, our female barbarian character in there, but probably can't see it that well. I might have shared already, I think, over Christmas, that picture, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you did.
In there, but it was like, no, let's try and make the armor functional in there and avoid those kind of pitfalls. I'm honestly a bit prudish about that kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't like to over-sexualize figures. I've never liked it. So I've always tried to do just normal people, really, whatever they are.
On that topic, you see, I would be feeling in my job, and everyone would just go, oh, Andy's just chums with Carl, never says anything bad about it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to do some investigative journalism.
No, really?
Yeah. So
research everything.
If I slide the big magic button, well, it's a twofold thing. It gives me a fantastic excuse to run a gallery of photographs from.
Oh, nice. Dice. Okay, what we got?
Now, every week, not every week. It's not like you're a pimp, but every week you sort of manage to mention we've got 900 miniatures, and indeed you do. Do you know how many of your miniatures are ladies?
No.
Guess if you had to give a number.
No, I genuinely have no idea.
Okay. Would it surprise you to know that you have over 100?
Really?
Yeah. over 100 of your 900 miniatures are females.
I don't know why I'm looking at the pots there. Like they're all going to nod and go, yes, there are 100 cards.
Answer me,
Are they
metal
really?
figures.
They don't talk back to me as much as I would like.
Reassured we are. G-spot.
Well, that's not bad.
It's not, because I've got a funny feeling that kind of cut is probably actually better percentage-wise than old-time Hollywood and TV was.
Probably, yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if that's not the case, the lovely thing about the CD miniatures now, I know you're not getting logged in, but everyone at home's getting to watch this. Generally speaking, they're all. You see, this was the other thing that was in the back of my head when I was thinking about it too. I was sort of thinking, Crooked Dice doesn't do characters; it does miniatures and it does its archetype cards.
Mm.
So you have a great sort of get out of jail free card of not having to do the "oh, rescue me" heroine or the "hello, I'm a lady and I've got big zoomies" kind of, the whole. It doesn't apply to the action of the game. So I thought, well, let's have a look through the Crooked Dice miniatures and see, where does Karl get it wrong? And do you know what? At a push.
There's a couple in there which weirdly I am a bit prudish about it. There were a couple in there. There was one of the Angels of Justice, who has got there's got a bit more cleavage on show than I remember at the time being slightly comfortable with. But and I redid the Fem Droids recently because I don't know if now I would do those. They are parodies and pastiches of, inspirational things that we have seen on screen in there. But there's something in the back of my head that goes, Karl, come on, you're better than that sometimes. So I try not to do it just because I just don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's kind of a flag goes up sometimes, but I still get it wrong. I find myself doing a 4-pack of something, particularly when I'm doing like extras and they're like the goon packs. And you go, oh, I've just done 4 blokes again. Why have I done that? There's that. I think, and I should try and build in something which checks me halfway through to make sure that we're trying to get a bit of a better split of things. Really,
there's no denying that sort of presentation and representation is more and more important. It's the nice thing about Crooked Dice in this regard. I'm not saying you're the only one to do it. Before somebody messages up or sends email, oh, my company does this and I've been doing this for you. Right,
no, okay. I mean,
but the nice thing is,
Ed Squiddo does a fantastic range of stuff. So
phenomenal. But by the same token, you are not missing the target here, because, as I was going to say, the characters who, I'm not even sure they're over sexualized. They're so much of a parody that and the femdroids, the original femdroids as well, most of them have the face off. It's clear you're not making out miniatures and saying, here are some big boobalicious ladies, get excited lads. They are clearly inhuman constructs. I was going to sort of say, they've just popped up on the screen there for the guys. Loosely, somebody who really, Mary Whitehouse might get a bit uptight around the likes of the female minions and the miniskirts, but again, for the 60s, miniskirts was the fashion. It's not like you have sat down and gone, I want mini.
No, it's not like they're in kind of cheesecake poses, and it's not like people didn't wear mini dress, kind of mini skirts in there. And for that kind of 60s thing, I don't think there's anything.
No.
A lot of people said they preferred to have them in a kind of a ski pant kind of thing because they just thought they might be a bit more usable. But and I must go back and maybe do that at some stage. But yeah, I don't think they're overly sexualized in kind of what they're doing. They're people with guns.
The jumpsuit thing, you see, I was going to come to, because the nice thing from what I look at with the CD range is, generally speaking, the female characters usually in jumpsuits are good guys, loosely speaking, and everyone else tends to be a bad guy.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3. There's one in there. There's Carly, who is the kind of the female assassin in there, yes. and she's the kind of the plunging kind of Electra. I'm saying that Electra doesn't have that in the suit, but it's that kind of character in there. Yeah, and there's a little bit of that on there. It's tricky because when you're trying to do parodies and pastiches of some of those kind of iconic characters in there, the source material isn't particularly forgiving and isn't particularly kind of diverse in the first place in there. So it's like, how do we try to? I think we probably moved on from that now. We don't do that now. So how do we make sure that we are homologing what we've got, but not making it,
Yeah, because
in the same way that it had been produced in 1965, they may have not considered some of those things.
No, they probably did consider them at length on a couch. That's the sad thing about it. But I suppose by the same token, to ignore that and sort of pretend it didn't happen is by some way almost like a sanitization too. I think you've managed to take those characters who were generally presented on a back foot. They had a small role. They weren't normally very important in the film. They were there for their lip gloss and their sheen and how far the zip was down. And they were very two-dimensional sort of shadow characters. Whereas thanks to the way Crooked Dice and 7TV plays, those miniatures have as likelihood of being front and centre and being the source of all the action and being the hero as they do of being a minion in the next game.
Well, across all of the games, wherever possible, we've got better at it, I think, as we've done the other sets, but all of the archetypes in there are non-gendered anyway, so that you could play with whatever miniature or whatever you wanted. It'd be a little bit rich for me to say we designed it exactly with diversity in mind. That wasn't entirely true. It was to make it as broad, as possible, so that it hit on as many archetypes as we could kind of get.
Yeah.
But it does allow you to play with anything, with whatever miniature you like in there. So why can't the flamboyant agent be female? That makes no difference. Okay, yeah, we've put that picture on the card, but that doesn't stand for any of them really.
But it's nice. I mean, okay, set the fembots aside. Set specifically the homage / parody figures aside for one moment, of which there's very few that kind of fall into the category of going, ooh. And yeah. It's a little, ooh. It's not like, but even, especially the characters that you have designed yourself, the Crooked Dice original IP stuff, they are straight down the line. There's nothing kind of on toward them. Even the fembots, the new fembots, are very androgynous. And that's something I noticed going through, because they've literally gone through the entire figure range. By the way, I yet again hate you, because every time I do this, I end up with a list. Of things. I go, oh, I forgot you done those. I must get a set there. Oh, I must get. So yeah, my next month's pay is unfortunately pretty much spoken for. But what was sort of playing in my head was, at the minute before fantasy kind of really becomes a thing, because it's your smallest line miniatures, where are you seeing, or what kind of personas do you have in mind for the female characters that are going to come out with fantasy? Because I imagine a lot of people are going to have that thing in their head of that traditional barbed wire, chainmail bikini and codpiece and a big sword.
Well, as ever, it's a love of that subject and that genre that makes us do those sets in the first place. And we wanted to do barbarian movies, and we wanted to do those kind of things. Well, I mean, you look back at those now, particularly some of the Italian ones, and they are. You go, whoa, okay, we can't broadcast that. And so we really wanted to kind of push back at that, and we did it with the studio as well. We kind of built it into it. So the meta behind it is that there's Minerva, I've got to say this right, Minerva Avventura, who is an Italian film company, and they are led by the head of the studio is Donatella De Lorenzo. Because we were riffing on all of those, on the Belisarius and the other ones in there, and those kind of those families and things. So it fitted in really well from a kind of a meta point of view in the first place. But we then went through the process of, well, what would have been different then if there had been a studio chief that had been female? What would they have how would they have represented that genre a little bit differently?
Yeah.
And we're not larding it on too thick. We're trying to, weirdly with the meta, we try and make it vaguely realistic so that it has that kind of feeling that it could have existed in there. But that meant that we kind of fed that through into the female, into some of the stories and films and stuff that we did as well with the female characters. And also there came quite naturally out of that in there. So she's on the front of the box. I'm not going to show it any closer because I haven't previewed it properly in there, but she's over the back there. And I probably have. I'll have a look. I don't know if that's right in the middle. Is that in? I'm not sure if I'm in my little window or not.
No, you're middle enough because I've given you a bigger, tidier window this way. You've got a lovely gold gilt frame. It's very, very posh looking.
So there you go. So that's I've previewed Orsa already, but we're saying the Orsa series was like was their most successful trilogy.
Cool.
So we've kind of. I'm not going to fall over in it.
Probably.
So we feed that in there and take the same sentiment with those figures as we always have with everything else, really. So it's sensible, workable armor in there, and I don't think I do chainmail bikini anyway. There's plenty of people that do those, and they're lovely figures. And I'm not looking, but it's not something we've done. So we'll keep it the same vein with those.
It's probably the sad reality though that even if back in the day we did have a major film studio that was female dominated, female ran, there probably would have been the tendency to go, well, what's the consumer going to buy?
Oh yeah, and we've kept that in there, but there's a slightly better kind of representation in there, I think, than what you got because she had the power to be able to do that and kind of influence it in there. So it's in there, and again, all the archetypes now probably done the best job so far because you can with fantasy. And all of the archetypes in there are just kind of, they're neutrally named. But again, that's just carrying on with what we've got, so you can play with whatever. So your agile archer can be Keira Knightley out of King Arthur, God forbid, or whatever. Sorry, there's not a slight on Keira Knightley. It's just I'm not a big fan of the film. But you can use whatever you like.
I was going to say as well, funny enough, that it was kind of nice because I specifically went through the miniatures. It was actually nice to notice there's now not many, maybe 4, maybe 5 that you could quite happily put a ring around and go, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's androgynous, they can be whoever you really want them to be, which was kind of nice. And it's not something I remember seeing. And I mean, obviously, I look at a lot of miniature lines. It's not like I've got a life. But it's the first time in a long, long time I remember looking at a couple of miniatures and going, oh, right enough. Yeah. Be the person you want to be with this.
I mean, I'd see it I'd see that diversity more at shows in the audience these days. I do. We're not great at it. We still get it wrong in there. I mean, if you look at so we've got gender in there, and what would you say? 100. That's quite great. Race probably not very good at all. In there, we've got a handful of figures there, and if you go into other things, what was that brilliant line of adventurers in wheelchairs? That was
the D&D
like a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
for just really, really like nice sculpt. I thought I'd never thought of that, and that says something about me and probably society. And there aren't many of those miniatures that I've ever really seen before to represent disability in there. I don't think we can really class pirates in that, can we? That's not the same thing at all.
Yeah. Oddly, I feel uncomfortable about going down the avenue of discussing amputees, but yeah, I mean, your pirate traditionally is missing a leg or missing an arm or missing an eye.
And there's a few of those out there, but I think that's just because it plays into the tropes of the cinematic and things that and Treasure Island, basically, isn't it? Yeah. But so it's playing it those, but no, beyond that, I can't. And they were really nice sculpts. Those I can't remember who did those. It's not something that I remember.
Could Google it, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, but they were great.
No, they really were. But and this wasn't, and I hope you realise that it wasn't a go at you. In fact, it was sort of a slight pat on the back, because, and it even sounds like from what you're saying, you at least are conscious. Here's the things we've done. A lot of things that we've done are stuff that I liked because it's kind of loosely based on shows that I liked. You can't always be held accountable to that, because that, to, like, if you're going to do the A team, you make the A team. If you want to make a part of the A team, you can quite happily go for 4 female characters to be the A team. There's no issue there. If you're doing Knight Rider, it's going to be a car and a dude in his leather jacket with a massive sort of quiff going on. And yes, you can later come back and go, well, actually, you know what? A female version of that and a androgynous version of that, that's well and good. But by the same token, you're a business, and you have to pay the rent. And once the rent's paid, then you have the luxury of going, okay, I would like to slice in a bit more diversity here, see how that gets responded to. And if it works and if people like it, then I can add more and I can add more and I can add more.
I don't know if it's always conscious, but it's the sort of model that we've taken, whether it's that or whether it's just our own kind of property bits and pieces. You do the stuff that you know that's going to sell, and that helps fund the other more kind of niche bits or other things that you want to get out as well. It's not always just talking. Sometimes you do. Oh, it'd be great to do that. I had a talk to myself just the other week. And I'm going to try and put some stuff out this year, which people have been asking for ages. There will be 4 soldiers of fortune that could solve any problem that you've got that may be on the jazz, because they've been talking about those for ages.
On the jazz.
The jazz. It always sounds slightly filthy.
It does.
But
I expect a comment from just Lee Morrison any moment.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and do some of those as well. And I say it's not, you don't always get it right with bits and pieces. Every now and again, someone will go to me, it's been a while since you've released, in those 4 packs that you keep doing, they're all blokes. Oh, Christ, yeah, they are. So I will probably still get it wrong every now and again, but try to think about it a bit in there, and then balance that off against, as you said, what's going to sell as well. And I'm not saying that those things won't, but I know some things will definitely, go out the door a bit quicker than others. So.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, people buy what people want to buy. If you're doing a World War II airborne army, as nice as a World War II airborne army of, say, all female models might be, done properly, done well, there's going to be plenty of people who go, they didn't fight in it. So that's.
But then Annie's done as sort of addressed that the range of World War II stuff that I've seen out, and I must admit I'm not a massive historical wargamer, so I've not always tuned into those. But she seems to have found kind of units and characters and stuff in there to do quite a big World War II range.
She has a phenomenal range. I wonder, is it, do you think, and this is just sort of spitballing here really, but do you think because wargaming was in its origins traditionally kind of a blokish thing, and because it was about war and it was all men armies, that's the legacy that it's.
I suspect the roots of it are in there. Shows are a little bit more diverse, but they are 90% blokes probably, and it's probably the same for my customer base as well. I think in there. I don't know. Is it as simple as blokes like playing war? I don't know, but there are plenty of that good old. I always go on about this, but there's a good Rick Priestley article years and years ago in White Dwarf about it. He did a not a Venn diagram, a pie chart of like different war gamers, and I always say at the heart, everyone's a collector. That's really what kind of people. If you boiled it down. But within that, there's painters and there's gamers as well. The hobby is bigger than just that one kind of gaming.
Yeah.
And I think Guy published something this week, actually, which I haven't really looked at, from War Games, Soldiers and Strategy. He did a little bit of analysis of, he did a survey and then broke it down by people and gaming and stuff like that. And I've not read that yet, but I've got that sitting on the side.
Let's take a wee look at that.
But you look at it in the hobby and it does seem predominantly that. But as a friend of mine says, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try and bring a wider range of people into the hobby. in there.
Yeah.
And if they don't see stuff that reflects them, is that a barrier for them coming into it? I don't know the answer to that, but it's a viable question.
It is a hard ticket because I see the same conversation on like the board gaming groups. There's this thing. I hate sort of
Is that the
buzzwords.
same thing? Because I thought that would be more family oriented. That's what I've seen reflected at the expo.
But
Right, rich range of people.
Yeah, but it's again, I was going to say, it's these buzzwords, this gatekeeping thing. It seems that board gaming, like wargaming, is enshrined by some as their. You'll notice on Weegamers when we talk about the hobby, we mean everything. I don't care if you're building an Airfix plane, you're painting a tiny soldier, you're painting a picture, you're playing a computer game, you're playing a war game, you're playing a role play. It's the hobby is if you're playing games and having fun, you're involved in the hobby. Whereas there's still people who ring fence and go, well, no, this is my family.
That's our thing.
But it is odd to sort of hear, and I suppose maybe it's your own experience too. It's odd to still hear that people sort of say, well, I don't think, I can't be part of that, or I can't take part in this. And I think we've been guilty of that as a club. We've been guilty of that in the past, where it was predominantly blokish, and we were quite blokish about our things. Then you wake up one day and realize, no, actually, that's just like an excuse to be lazy about not including and not having. You can't say you've got an open door and the door's not open. Yes, everyone's free to be their own person, but that doesn't mean you don't respect other people. So, your blokish jokes and all the rest of it, put a curb on it. Go and, nobody's saying you can't tell them, but you don't dominate the room anymore. The room is shared, and that shared space requires respect. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. It's
I don't know that I do because I've kind of got lost in my own thought.
No, but it's only when I started going to the Games Expo that you started to see a much wider range of people there. There was a much better gender mix. There was definitely families kind of coming along. No, there weren't families at war game shows as well. I suppose the Expo is considerably bigger than a lot of the war game shows as well in there. But you did see a broader mix of people. I think.
Oh no! I mean, what I see at Expo and things like Essence Spiel and that would have been at it. It was very much we as a family have come to this, and we're all looking at the things that appeal to us. We're making compromises on what we buy because when we go home, we're sharing what we buy in terms of play or space or hobby time or whatever. And I think, sadly, largely the war game shows that have been at, if there's been a family, it's usually been one of them is there because after this we're going on to something else, and sometimes you get lucky that some offspring or whatever has a slight interest or a significant interest, and one or other of the parents is like, oh, shiny things that I must buy.
I love my customers a great deal, but I often, and Helen is exactly the same, will target our conversations to the poor partner that is being dragged around that particular show that doesn't have a great deal of interest in it and has got the patience of a saint. And we're going to talk to them as well because it's. I think in the hobby, our partners are very, very patient. Generally, Anna's got the patience of a saint for me doing this. So we'll often try and talk to kind of the partners and say, how are you today? Are you all right? You going anywhere nice after this?
I'm making time for you now. Let us talk about you things and inquire as to the stuff that you do.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but yes.
Your television program soap opera was enjoyable this evening. I am pleased to hear this. Martin Dorey, with regards to gamers painters, I have done shows in the past, and it's been the ladies that are looking for a single figure, either for a D&D character or for something to paint alongside their partner. It's not a space marine. Yeah, I mean, I think most of the painters I see now kind of promoting I've painted a miniature.
Yeah.
It would have been like 8 years ago, blokes. Now it's lady, bloke, lady. There's definitely more female painters promoting their stuff, which is lovely to see.
I definitely think that RPG tabletop stuff has. I mean, there's a few controversies that have picked up over the last few years about bits and pieces, but it's certainly been much more inclusive and there seems to be a large proportion of female gamers with D&D and bits and pieces that I see in there. And yeah, it might be a bit of a broad statement, but I think when I've been at shows as well, if I've had female customers, they tend to be looking for more personality figures for stuff.
Yeah.
Not all, yeah. I'm thinking the expo again.
I think Crooked Dice is in that unique kind of niche. It's a skirmish game. It's very thematic. You do homage miniatures, so it kind of makes complete sense that somebody is going to walk up to you. A wide range of people are going to be able to walk up to you and find something among your line that they like, even if they don't care about the game. Whereas you go up to your warlords or your whatever, and it's, though the product range is wider, I think the focus of what it's about and maybe the appeal, it could potentially be that little bit narrower because it's less about the character, it's more about the mass.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, we're a bit more scattergun, I guess.
Yeah.
I always describe it as a bit of an eclectic mix in there. Sometimes it's themed, and sometimes we're quite good, and other times it will just be mad, batshit ideas that I come up with for doing something that I particularly like. So there was someone trying to describe the game and the miniatures to someone online today, and I kind of read it and went, God, yeah, we're a bit random, aren't we? About certain things.
I think random's awesome.
I don't know anything else. We do a lot of randoming, don't we?
Yeah, Jez Hunt's point is, and this is what it boils down to: more gamers, more women. Thank goodness. And this is the point that I think we stand over too. I don't care your color, creed, denomination. I'm aware that there's not enough of everybody. Barriers and whatnot, I don't know quite what they are. And I think just it's down to the case that it's individuals. The more welcoming, inclusive you can try and be, the more welcoming, inclusive the hobby, get to use the fingers, the hobby is going to be, and more people will feel that they can come to it, or they're already there, but they feel they could share with you more about it. That's...
Yeah, I think my kind of one of my good friends has kind of said, if you see things that reflect you in a particular area in there, you're more likely to kind of feel that you can be part of that group in there. I think we're trying to do some of it. As I say, I don't think we're perfect at it, and there's probably still a long way to go in probably many people's eyes. But 100 out of 900.
Over 100.
I'm really surprised that.
Over 100.
Over 100.
Over 100. I kind of lost count at 100 because I was doing it with my fingers. I'd say you're somewhere in the region of about 110 or so.
It was always in tens, though.
Yeah. Well, you'd look at a picture. You'd look at a picture that's like a group of 4 and go, "There's a lady. There's 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's 4 ladies." So I'll kind of count it as 1, and then later I'll come back and add another 3. Blah blah blah. So that's kind of the way I've done it. It was very scientific. Very scientific. But no, I think this is what I see. Don't scream at me, but this is kind of what I see with fandom, and everything's going down the same avenue. Years ago, you loved Star Trek. It was easy. There was that much Star Trek. So you loved Star Trek. Everyone got together, talked about how much they loved Star Trek, shared pictures, went to wee mini cons and things like that there, got their photographs, and everyone was happy. And then Star Trek got wider. And then the split started to come. And Star Wars, the same. Star Wars, you were a fan, everyone loved it. And then it started, well, you can't be a fan because you like that, and I think it's crap. And
it's Doctor Who a little bit, isn't it? With kind of classic and old in there, you get it a bit. Star Trek, I never understood some of the comments with that because it was the Roddenberry dream, as far as I could see. It was a utopian society where of equality and you read some comments about things on some pages, but generally I avoid and go, really, have I been missing something or not quite understanding what the kind of principle behind the Federation was in the first place? But
I think I ended up in a bit of a conversation on the page last night with a chap who obviously cared passionately about kind of what I'll call core Trek. There's a term that I'm just going to coin now.
Core Trek.
Core Trek. And I'd sort of put up a post about this new Below Decks cartoon. Now,
I saw that. So
yeah,
I've not watched that.
I've watched it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go, it was Star Trek. That's the last time I'm using the fingers this morning. But it was. But one of the things, as I said to him in a reply, because he was not a happy camper with it, and he did not like that we liked it. And it was on the verge of being a bit personal, but I'm kind of used to that now. And as I sort of said to him, when I look at these things now, like Discovery, like the J.J. Abrams universe and whatnot, I look for the cracks and the flaws that I can slide between and take the enjoyment with me as I go. Because about an hour after I've watched it, I'm remembering the bits that give me the buzz, and I've already forgotten the bits that were inflammatory.
Yeah.
Disco, I mean, folks, not trying to go down this road here, but I can see quite clearly how a lot of people have issue with Star Trek Discovery, or the Michael Burnham Show, as it's called.
See, I enjoy it. I've watched probably all of Star Trek, but I don't think I've seen all of Enterprise. I don't think I saw the end parts of Voyager in there, but I watched it because there was sci-fi stuff, and at the time there wasn't always a lot on. So you just kind of try to absorb everything in there. But I don't know if I'm a massive fan of it in a weird way. I know lots and stuff about it, but I can't say it was something that I had a deep dive in the same way that I did for like Doctor Who and Star Wars. It was just different things. But when Discovery started, I kind of quite liked it. I thought, oh, and it felt because it was actually slightly different, but it was familiar with some of the things that done. But I've really dropped off the last series. I just didn't find it very engaging on a kind of story level. It just sort of disappeared, and I haven't really watched the last half of the season. Really, I'll probably go back and do it. But it's the storytelling part of it. I can live with any other bits and pieces.
Yeah,
but it's having that right feel. But I think that's why Mandalorian was a hit, because it feels kind of right.
Yeah,
it feels like the thing, and they captured that sensibility about it.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like I remember literally, because I'm old enough to remember, waiting week on week for the next episode of The Next Generation to come on. Now I was raised on the knee watching original Star Trek, but we didn't have the DVD players. There wasn't DVDs. We didn't have the VHS. But once I was able to start acquiring those things, the first thing I bought was the original series on VHS. I still have them in a box in the garage. So when The Next Generation came out, I had that kind of naive enthusiasm, and whilst I recognise it was not Star Trek, it still was Star Trek. So I kind of accepted it quite quickly. I remember sitting, next Saturday, boom, there it would be on. It was great. And then Voyager came along, and I still remember kind of being, what?
Yeah.
I had issues with it, but then I got into it, and again the enthusiasm was there. Enterprise came out, and I was like, no, this is too different. The song's different, the people are different, Discovery.
Yeah, something I quite liked. I watched that. That had a sort. I don't know why. Whether that was. It felt like it was a bit more Star Trek. Arguably, please don't shoot me down here. Is a bit ABA storytelling. We start at we go back to the norm again, and probably because of B5 and the other influences of TV, in the Deep Space Nine seemed to have a few more kind of longer story arcs and things in them, and I just enjoyed that sort of show a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that. But the other ones have been that format. I remember being quite excited about Voyager when it started, and I liked the premise of that tension of the two crews. But unfortunately, by the end of the pilot, they're all good mates again. And I thought, oh, you had a brilliant friction there that you could have played out, and there's a drama in it, and it kind of went straight away, which I always found really odd.
Yeah, and inexplicably flares up
with it all the way through. So
yeah. But that's the trouble. When it was convenient for the storytellers, that friction suddenly would have blossomed up midway through a season between two inconsequential characters. Oh, we need a fight. Oh, well, we'll use the Maquis Federation thing. Yeah,
I guess
DS9 different beast. No, sorry, go ahead.
I guess it comes back to that thing that I sort of said earlier in there, is that I often throw this back at people and say, no, it's a product. It is a production, but it's also a product. And those things are being made and syndicated and sold to make that company money in there, which means they need 20 odd episodes, which are pretty much the same because that's what the distributors are buying into. In there, I think back in the day, I think now with Netflix and things, you've got slightly different types of kind of story and series shape. I don't think. Did you ever watch the OA?
Yes. No, I didn't get into it. I kind of ended up.
See, I really love that, but I can't see that ever being made if there wasn't something like Netflix, because just the story of it is all over the place.
Yeah,
in there. But in some of those things, you are making it because you want to sell it, so it has to be a pretty standard format with a couple of artists and stuff. So I kind of get that. But I'm also constantly surprised that they spend millions and millions on these things, and then you end up with something that the majority of people go, well, that's all right. You kind of think, God, how does it get to that point?
Well, I honestly expected to stick on Below Decks and watch an episode and kind of walk away from it and go, well, I'll maybe watch the rest of it. And I watched it all. I literally got to the end of it and went, I want this. No, it wasn't that it was like setting me on fire, but what I very quickly caught on was it had continuity. They in a cartoon, they managed to have what happened last week get referenced this week, what happens so there's a continuity in it. The exterior stuff is totally the next generation. All the ship kind of graphics and the music is totally.
It's based in kind of.
It's total TNG.
Yeah.
The entire premise of the show is like that Next Generation episode where it was Below Decks, where it was on the characters that didn't matter, and they're kind of. And I get there's a bit of effing and blinding and stuff. I think if they'd stick with it being a kids' cartoon, that mum and dad could have sat down with their kid and gone, I love Star Trek, this will get you into Star Trek. That would have been nice.
So it is pitched as an adult cartoon.
It is pitched very much for an adult thing. But what I kind of liked was there was lovely little homage moments. And DS9 or Discovery have kind of got used to it. Oh, there's a sound effect, that's a homage. There's a thing, that's a homage. In this, they literally went, big original classic Star Trek moment, and here's what we've had to do as a follow-up. They actually make mention of, Kirk and all went and explored this, and it was great. Really, the Federation had a responsibility to follow up and check if these planets were okay.
I like that day in the life and what goes on behind the Marvels, the Kurt Busiek, Alex Ross Marvel series. In there was that, what about the photographer that is capturing all of these amazing moments when Galactus turns up or when Spider-Man's first seen on the streets? What's the background behind that? And that he's done that a lot. He did that in Astro City as well. But that kind of story I really like.
Yeah, that's nice.
I might give that a go then.
Give it a go. I'm not saying. For me, all I'm saying is, for me, it delivered enough truisms of Trek. It tried. I think it's tried to appeal to all the camps of fandom now, and it's still not going to be loved by everybody. But as I say, it's look for the cracks that you can work your way through and take the enjoyment that you can and treasure that and just forget about the rest if you don't care.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up then, we really should have a little look at these next two exclusives that you're going to pop.
We've got a couple of little previews there.
I think I've inadvertently put them in the other gallery as well. So people, the shrewd will have already seen them going, they're not ladies. Where are we? There we go. So what we've got here, talking about nice things, is the US Army Rangers. And because it's going to flick fairly quickly, we've also got the Big Shoggoth as well. So tell us about these, Karl. Tell us now.
Basic concept of Lurkers is a kind of a war movie versus kind of cosmic horror, with various authorities moving in on Marshport. So there is a fantastic sort of Alamo-style scenario in there where a load of Army Rangers are holding off a lighthouse as loads of deep ones kind of swarm out of the oceans in there. So there's a 4-pack of those, and there's a couple of other military-style personalities scattered throughout some of the packs. And I think if people like those, I may do another 4 of those if I can find some time in the schedule for Ernst to do it. So there's that, and then there's some bigger Shoggoths. We've already got our protoplasmic terrors, which are kind of smaller versions on those, which I think go on 25 millage bases. but those ones are both on 40mm bases. So there's just a couple of weird tentacular eyeballed gribblies in there, which will be a stretch goal. So both of those things are stretch goals later on the campaign as kind of played add-ons in there. But I showed someone in the Army Rangers, you're doing World War II stuff, you're doing military stuff. I said, well, within the realms of what is cinematic, I think. It's whenever I do a soldier, it's an action man soldier, it's not a proper soldier. But yeah, so there's a couple of extra packs there, and there'll be other things I'm sure we'll show next week and things, depending on how we go along.
So I'm quite glad to see you doing the US Rangers, because in the back of my twisted little brain, I mean, you go, now he'll do like the Dirty Dozen, or he'll do like the Guns of Navarone, or the Alabas. You know, I can see a way to wedge in now to get you to do little scenario packs for all of those.
And I'm not adverse to doing kind of any of those, but there's people out there that have kind of I've already done them all, do those and do a good range of stuff. We've tried to do something you can't get from anywhere else, but I wouldn't be adverse to doing a couple of those, ones I particularly love. But yeah, there's a start there. So there's 4 of them. If the thing goes super mad in there, then I might even try and add on another one. But I'll have to look at the schedule to see whether we can fit another 4 in the kind of, because the production and everything that we'll need to fit into it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to delay things too much. But if not, I'll try and add them into the pledge manager or as a kind of an early release so people can get a few more. But there's plenty of Army Rangers out there that you could get to add on as kind of troop ones if you want.
But you're overlooking how intrinsically lazy we all are. We want to go onto one website, to one shopping cart, add a plethora of tiny fighting people, and then click one button and await our package. The trolling through various websites that, Carl says I can get these somewhere else. Well, I don't care. I'll forget what he said.
The bookmark sites in my miniatures bookmark tab is about 3 miles long. I have to take sandwiches if I'm going to go down at the end of that. So it's a day out.
You think that your dear lady's very patient with you. In reality, she's managed to cordon your insanity into one room, close a door, and she can pretend you're not there.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, it's probably downstairs in the phone going, Carl? Oh yeah, he's doing fine.
I'm managed, aren't I? I never thought of that.
You're contained in your playroom.
Is that why there's a bolt on the door? Makes sense.
On the outside. It just opens the door. There's a cup of coffee and a sandwich. Now, I'm having some friends round, and you remember you promised to be quiet. Are you finished talking to Andrew? Good.
I know which one's the adult in the relationship, so don't worry about it.
Bless you. Well, folks, I think we have bent Carl's ear for long enough, because this chap you've probably got your other call to do today as well, don't you? Because you've your little think tank thing going on.
No, was that last week or the week before?
I don't
Maybe
remember.
Last week. So yeah, 17. That's open to everybody. But that's 70 in the Ether, which is the lovely Sean Pike organises, and it's just whoever wants to come along and we sit down and have a chat and say what you've been doing. I show them some sneaky previews of bits and pieces, and we just have a chat.
Nice.
So
that
was last week though.
He's
so
never
every
invited
couple
us.
of months, maybe I think
that's the first he's managed to. Shh. The terrible thing in the attic. Jeez, you can't say that about Carl. Not when he's still here. Wait until he's left.
Is he referring to this terrible thing in the attic? Is that what he's talking about?
No, I think he's referring to you. in the entirety, the 28mm Carl. It's about time with a new 28mm Carl as well. Is that me or you?
I'm phoning as well. It's the ignore it. Move on.
Well, we're going to move on. So, just to recap, folks. We talked about stuff. You can watch it again. The next thing that we'll recap on is, don't forget, Lurkers from the Deep goes live on Kickstarter on the 29th of the 1st, 21. Hopefully I didn't put that picture backwards on the screen. I think I might have done that initially last week, but I fixed it. So do check out the Kickstarter. As we've said before, if Lurkers from the Deep isn't your thing, hit share anyway. Share it to your wall, whatever they call it now, your page. Let your chums know, because you might have a little friend that and talking about inviting new people into the hobby. You don't know that Charlie,
Right.
that's friends with you from the floors down the street and added you on Facebook 5 years ago because, you know, he had no other friends, might be a secret Lovecraftian fan and see this on your newsfeed and go, oh my goodness, as well as flower arranging, I have a deep passion for all things of mythos. I'm
I
going
need
to
a
back that.
shoggoth.
Yeah, I need a shoggoth. I could do a beautiful flower arrangement with a shoggoth in the centre for that secret dark occult wedding that I'm doing next month. You
They
just,
have those.
yeah.
The Cthulhu themed wedding I would be at, quite frankly. That's a wedding crusher moment, that is.
You know, people are strange. So you just don't know who's going to look at a thing in your news feed. They're not going to think you're weird. They're just going to think you're bored and you've shared something. But they might look at it and go, that's the best thing I've ever seen since Star Trek Below Decks. I'm going to back that. Jess Hunt wants to know, is that the telephone call of Cthulhu?
Hello.
You must answer the call of the deep ones. But yeah, share because you care. Subscribe because, you know, we need the love. We're shallow and no, we're not. We don't really care. But it'd be really nice. We're at 295. We've managed to rebuild the channel back up to 295. Our original channel before it was burnt in the fires of hate and stuff was like at 300 and something. So if we can manage to get back up to 300, I'll be content. We can stop doing this. I'll give you a Saturday off, Carl. If I get back up to 300 subscribers, you can have a Saturday off. Yeah.
I'm out at that point.
I'm gone. I'm done talking to Andy. He's a nurse. Yeah, we'll come crawling back when his next Kickstarter goes live because he's too mean to pay for advertising. So yeah, 29th of the 1st, 21. Keep that in your diaries, folks. And there's like 2 or 3 paydays. So go mad. If we all do the £250 pledge, we get everything. The answers of the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mysteries will be.
There's the truth now, folks. If you do the £250 pledge, Carl, when he puts in his little thank you postcard, will also give you a pearl of his wisdom. An answer to the meaning of life will be on the back of your £250 pledge thank you card that comes with your pledge.
Yeah, because I can write 42 really quickly on the back of cards. That'll be all right.
Everyone has to get a unique one, Carl.
I'll just do different numbers. It'll be fine.
Whatever. Bombi, I'll be making sure all my Pulp Alley friends know about it. Good on you. That is the way to do it. That is the way to do it because the more we share it, the more people are going to know and the more they're going to care. Because who looks at adverts? Whereas they'll look at you. They'll listen to you because you matter. You're important.
Not me.
No, I'm talking to them, Carl.
Yeah. Got cross, not me. Don't listen to me.
No, you're just like our little deity on his little porcelain throne.
I was going to say something rude then. I won't. It'll spoil the moment.
That would be the call of Cthulhu.
Oh.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I shall bid you.
Nautilus, that was so bad.
I shall bid you adieu to you fair ladies of Rome. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. Thanks to all who have chipped in, commented. Where Eagles Dare, cable car fight. Sorry, Graham, missed that comment. An Eldritch call from beyond. Is that, yeah, there we go. Excellent. We've caught up with the comments as well. So it's a goodbye from me.
Bye, me.
And
goodbye from me. Bye.
Be kind to yourself, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.